So let me get this straight. Our friends at Razer have announced a 5G mobile gaming device running a Snapdragon and Android, but it's not a Razer Phone 3. What a silly thought. It's not a Razer Phone, it's something completely different. I don't even know what kind of telephone ability it's going to have, if any. But if Razer thinks that they could just get a clean slate, a do-over, wipe everything clean from the Razer Phone 2 without having to come up with some sort of explanation or apology for what happened there, they're absolutely out of their minds. It's like when Bobby Valentine was managing the Mets and got kicked out of a ball game, and an inning later, he was sitting there with sunglasses and a fake mustache. I mean, you might not name it a Razer Phone 3, you might not sell it as a phone, but you're going to be sitting there having a device running Android in 5G that's going to be a gaming device that's essentially a Razer Phone 2 with those Jungle Cat controllers or whatever the newer ones they have glued onto the side to it and being a dedicated device. And the annoying part is that it's running Android. And the reason why that's annoying is because that means that there are engineers right now sitting there at Razer working on a version of Android when for a year plus they told us that they didn't have the people available in order to give us Android 10 on the Razer Phone 2. Nonsense. Nonsense. And I see people online giving them that clean slate. I see a lot of articles. Oh, this is the one to beat. Oh, Steam Deck better watch out. These other companies, oh, it's going to have 5G as well as this, and it's Android based. You're going to have all your mobile games, but you're going to be able to play the other stuff and stream stuff live from Xbox Game Pass. I don't care. I don't care. Razer has a lot of work to do if they want more money out of my pocket, and I know a lot of the Razer Phone 2 owners feel the same. This was a phenomenal device when it came out. I love my Razer Phone 2. I still do to this day. You know, a lot of companies now, they give us that adaptive refresh rate, so you kind of feel the 120 hertz sometimes when apps lock it, but not all the times. I love the fact that you got to lock 120 hertz. This still feels like one of the smoothest displays that I've ever used on a mobile device. I love the squared off hardware. If you're a child of the 90s, late 80s, you know, boxy hardware designs that with futuristic stuff in them are kind of what we had. This is like sci-fi, realistic sci-fi now for those kids that grew up on that stuff. And it was a cool design. But the speakers would fall out and stop working. The thing would stop charging. It would never get updates. They quit on Android 10 after giving it just one update, major update of Android. You don't get to do that and get a do-over. You got some people working on Android, you got some engineers back there that got some spare time, give us Android 10 then. You give us Android 10 and say, you know what, we're sorry we fumbled the Razer Phone 2. We've learned in the past year or so, year and a half, we're going to do a better job with the Razer Edge 5G, so give us a chance. You know, we'll update, we'll support the existing hardware, and there's a precedent for this as well. You had Microsoft, when they came out with the Microsoft Surface Duo, the original Surface, the OG Surface Duo, was sucking wind. Wasn't getting updates, didn't have Android 11 yet, a lot of issues and bugs when it came to the different fold and tent modes and stuff, with the screens recognizing what screen that they wanted to be on. But when they came out with the Surface Duo 2, they said, all right, we're going to start supporting these devices again, including the older ones. So the Surface Duo got Android 11, it got bug fixes, and it's had updates every month since. And this is only running hardware a year older than that. So Android 10 with some security patch updates is not out of the question. Not out of the question. At least one last patch or something, just some sign of goodwill. Or you better offer some massive trade-in deals when it comes to this device here if you want to pick up a Razer Edge 5G. So let's talk about it. It's going to be running a Snapdragon G3X Gen 1, whatever that is. Collaboration with Qualcomm and Verizon, which is already, if Razer didn't have enough strikes against it, that's certainly another one, because you know what that screams. That screams exclusive, so you're going to have Verizon in order to get it. Every time that I've had a Verizon device that I thought was really neat, I wound up not getting it because of the exclusivity. Even when it came off of that and was offered unlocked and other stuff, I was over it by then. I didn't even want to bother with it. Is it a cool idea? Yeah. Could Razer redeem themselves? It's possible. Because to get a gaming device like that, like a Switch, more like a Steam Deck, because you could get your Amazon Luna streaming games. You could get your Xbox Game Pass. I would say Google Stadia, but that's too soon. Body's not even called. Poor Stadia. But that type of idea. And with the 5G connectivity, if it's fast enough, if it works well, then you can have a situation where you can play those games and stream those games on the go with low latency. It's an excellent idea. Here's the problem. Razer's making it. So they got to work on their quality control. They got to work on their quality assurance, whatever they have to do to make sure that they have a quality gaming experience and a quality device. They're going to have to do it. And to me, in my mind, the goodwill starts by making things right for owners of the Razer Phone 2. Because Razer makes some cool stuff. The Razer Phone 2 is really cool. We just wished it had the bug fixes, wish it had the hardware support for stuff that was going bad on it. Just wish it had some more life to it. I would still be using this device if it were updated. I'd still find reason to put my SIM in it. Cortex is really cool. The idea that you can have different games running at different chip speeds, all the rest of that was really cool. Different frame rates. You know, back in the day when the 120 hertz first became a thing on mobile phones, you know how Pokemon Go, you couldn't even throw a curveball at 120 hertz? This had the Cortex gaming settings where you could go in and say Pokemon Go runs at 60 hertz. They did some really cool stuff with mobile gaming, and I'm sure they can in the future. But if you're going to give us the same nonsense, the same support, and the same busted hardware that you did with the Razer Phone Original and the Razer Phone 2, it's going to be a pass. And it's going to be disappointing. I think the event is October 13th. I'm going to watch it. I might do another video if it seems like they've learned their lesson at least a little bit with this new device, and it seems like they've come up with something halfway decent. But the support needs to be there. And I know this, I'm not pre-ordering anything. I'm not putting $1 into it until I see in that advertising material X amount of Android updates. X amount of years of service support and whatever. And they may try to get away with it saying, well, oh, it's more of a gaming device. You know, your Steam Deck doesn't necessarily update whatever. It's as long as it's running Android, I don't care. I want X amount of years of support. I don't care if it needs one update a year because of what it is, because it's kind of gaming platform instead of a mobile device. I want that in writing from Razer. And a decent warranty as well. Let me know your Razer Phone 2 experiences below. I know I've heard a lot of horror stories. I've heard a lot of good stories as well. People love them. The problem is that the Razer phones did not love us back. And Razer certainly didn't as well. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.